For more, we're joined now by the Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. It's good to have you here in person, sir.
Good morning, Margaret.
Before we get to migration, I want to ask, do you have any information about this latest mass shooting in Texas, which may have been with an AR-15 style weapon?
Margaret, another horrific tragedy in our country. I spoke with the governor last night, as well as the mayor. The matter is still under investigation.
No information about the shooter?
No, Margaret. I think it's under investigation. The state and local authorities are leading that investigation.
Let's get to the border. This is the greatest migration surge, you said, in the Western Hemisphere since World War II. And you've been preparing for more than a year and a half. How rough will the next few weeks be?
You know, Margaret, we've been preparing for this for more than a year and a half. You are correct. And it is indeed a regional challenge, and it requires a regional response, which is why we are working so closely with many countries to the south. It's going to take our plan a while to really take hold, for people to understand that they can access lawful, safe, orderly pathways before they reach the border. And quite frankly, if they come to the border, they will receive a consequence under our enforcement authorities.
So you are, as an administration, setting up processing centers in Colombia and Guatemala so migrants can start the asylum process before they make it to the border. But those aren't set up yet. When will those be functional?
So we are furthest along with Colombia. It should be a matter of weeks, but we also have additional lawful pathways that already have existed for people to access.
The phone apps you're talking about?
Yes, the parole program for Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. We are expanding our family reunification programs.
So you have announced 1,500 troops that are going to El Paso, Texas. Why not other parts of the border? Is Texas the most porous area?
Well, they will be dispersed as operational needs require. And so the deployment of active duty troops is not to do enforcement work, not to interact with the migrants, but to provide other support so that our Border Patrol agents can be out in the field.
The governor of Arizona and the senior senator told us that the federal government is unprepared. Senator Sinema said Homeland Security is not sharing information with her or local law enforcement on numbers of migrants, processing time, and available buses to transport them. The governor also said she needs more urgency and she can't get specific information on dollars for emergency shelters. Why isn't that kind of specific detail being shared?
Well, I respectfully disagree with the senator and the governor. Number one, we are prepared. As we noted at the very beginning of our conversation, we've been preparing for this for quite some time. We tried to end Title 42 repeatedly, and we're stopped from doing so by the courts. So we are prepared, number one. Number two, we have a Migration Information Center that is specifically set up to communicate with state and local officials, and we have been doing so. We are using our FEMA regional coordinators as our key points of contact. I spoke with Senator Sinema, I think within the last 2 weeks, and our personnel are in touch with other officials on a regular basis.
She said she had been in touch with Homeland Security, also with the White House, but the information was not adequate. So do you think there is a communication problem here?
I do not. And if there is a question that has been unanswered, we will answer it. I will tell you, though, let's take a step back. Because there's a very important message, not to communicate only to Senator Sinema, but to all senators and all members of the House of Representatives. We need immigration reform. Everything that the Department of Homeland Security is doing, everything that our partners across the federal government are doing, is within a broken immigration system. The president passed to Congress a proposal to fix our broken immigration system on the first day in office.
But that's like a to-do list. That's different than putting your shoulder behind it, picking up the phone and saying, excuse me, Democrats control the Senate. Let's be out front on immigration.
Margaret, we have been pushing for immigration legislation since day one. And by the way, it didn't start on day one. This is a decades-long problem. The immigration system hasn't been fixed since the 90s.
Absolutely. And it has only seemingly gotten worse with the set of circumstances we're in now. But to that point, this gets so politicized. and you take a lot of the political heat yourself because you run the agency on the security portion of this. But if the politics are so bad and the security situation is so difficult and you need more resources, why isn't the president out there talking more about the need for a border bill? Why isn't Leader Schumer doing this? It seems like the issue is being conceded to Republicans.
Margaret, I just respectfully disagree. I spoke with Leader Schumer also within the last 2 weeks. We are in constant communication.
Is there a timeline from him?
There is not a day that goes by that we are not urging Congress to pass reform.
So does the administration support the bipartisan bill from Senators Sinema and Tillis that would allow for expelling of migrants for 2 years, similar to Title 42?
Title 42 and the expulsion authority is a public health authority.
Right.
It is not an immigration authority. We will be using our immigration authorities, which call for a consequence regime, which is why we have to correct the lies that smugglers tell vulnerable migrants. They think they're coming and they'll be able to stay, and that is just unequivocally false. And what I would say to the Senators Tillis and Sinema, what we need is our system fixed,
right,
not this Band-Aid solution.
Senator Bob Menendez, who's the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, a Democrat, said the administration has ignored his proposals. He objected to the sending of troops, and he criticized lack of planning. So if you have people who are border state senators who want to do something, and then you have the chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee saying he wants to do something, why is the administration ignoring that or pushing it aside?
The administration is not ignoring it.
Well, Menendez said that.
We are pressing forward. And by the way, Senator Menendez, the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, set forth a really thoughtful document with a number of pillars of action, and we have indeed implemented a number of those.
Henry Cuellar, Democrat, said he has confidence in you and Homeland Security, but he said the White House is holding you back.
Untrue. One team, one mission, and we are prepared to execute it.
Mr. Secretary, we'll be watching. Good luck to you.
Thank you so much, Margaret.